It's about speaking your truth, even when it costs you something or someone. Today, I'm sharing the story of the last real conversation I had with my sister. It's raw, it's personal, and it changed everything. My sister and I used to be close. Day ones for sure. Like really close. We talked multiple times a day, checking in, venting, laughing, brainstorming life. She's 5 years older than me and she doesn't have children, but that's never stopped her from giving advice on parenting or how to handle my household. And listen, I appreciated the support. There was plenty of times I was overwhelmed being a single mom, trying to work, raise my kids, stay afloat mentally. She always had ideas. You just need to do XYZ. And while they sounded good in theory, the real issue, when I'm not there, there's no one. No backup, no babysitter. Just more pressure on my kids. She didn't get that. And I often I was talking to someone who couldn't fully see me. She helped me financially here and there, and I'll always be grateful for that. But she's never been in the trenches with me, never changed a diaper, never stayed up late with a sick kid, never had to manage school pickups and doctor visits and a job all at once. The summer before our grandmother passed, she came to visit Florida. Now, she's been here before for business, but never made time to see us. This time, the plan was for her to help me redecorate. She's always had a talent for interior design, even as a kid. But instead of redecorating, she cleaned. And I mean deep cleaned. Like she was trying to scrub my house out of existence. I already felt judged. She was moving around like it was unlivable, but to me, clean has always been a spectrum, especially when you have kids. I try to explain it's not that I don't clean, it's just hard to keep up with everything. But I didn't push the conversation, I didn't want to argue. So, like I often did, I stayed quiet. And that's been the pattern, me trying to speak up and her not understanding, whether it was about my mental health, my parenting, or the recent diagnosis of my ADHD I received as an adult. She always minimized it, made it seem like I was being dramatic or I just needed to try harder. It felt like gaslighting. Like, again, someone in my family was making it seem like my reality wasn't valid. Then came the heartbreak of losing my grandmother. I received a phone call while at work from my sister regarding my grandmother being on hospice. Me being an ICU nurse, I already knew what that meant. The shock was real. I had no idea that she was even in the hospital, let alone being put on hospice. I was very confused. So I got out of work, got my stuff together, and I drove to Rhode Island. I was her hospice nurse. I was her granddaughter. But more than that, she was my mother. She helped raise me in the time period that I really needed. I am thankful for my grandmother because I would not be alive today if it wasn't for her. So when it came to planning her funeral, I wanted everything perfect. When it came to anything that had to do with my grandmother, I wanted it perfect. I could not be a part of it. I needed to make sure I was supervising every step of the way to ensure it was perfect. And I do mean every step of the way that had to do with my grandmother until she was buried. I don't know why my mind needed this, why I needed this. It was what it was. End of story. I performed post mortem care, which is just washing the body, cleaning up any discharge fluids that, happened, and changing her into something else. I knew that my grandmother would get me. Her spirit would have came for me if I did not put her in a nightgown. If I let her body be taken the way that it was, I don't know. I just felt like, girl, you better put her in something else. And that's exactly what I did. When the funeral home came to my grandmother's house, I helped them put her on the stretcher. And then not only that, I then followed her all the way to the funeral home. I sat outside that funeral home, smoking a blunt, and just being there next to her. Because I didn't want to leave her. I didn't want to leave her. I didn't want to go back inside that house without her there. I just couldn't. But I had to leave the funeral home. I was spent. I was so exhausted. So I went back to my best friend's house. And then, my dad told me that he was going to be there the next day at the funeral home. So we went to the funeral home the next day. I was like, listen, talking to the funeral director, this might be a very odd request. However, do you let anybody in for the for the embalming to get her prepared? He said, actually, no, that's not a weird request. We do allow people, but it's mostly if they're a nurse. I was like, oh, well, I'm a nurse and I can show you my badge. I can show you my license, but hi, I'm a nurse. He was like, well, yeah, we can definitely allow you to be here for the embalming process. He walked me through the steps. He asked me if I've seen it before, and I was like, yeah, I have. And I watched it all. When I tell you I was there for every step of the way, I was there for every step of the way. I needed to. I don't know. I kind of felt like if I wasn't there every step of the way, or if I stopped moving and I let the reality really seep in, it was going to be a wrap. I didn't think I was ever going to fucking be able to. I didn't know if I was ever going to be okay if I did not stop. And I was pissed. I was pissed. This whole situation with my grandmother. Let me break that down real quick because it just didn't make sense. 2 months before, I went to Rhode Island because I was supposed to be bringing my kids to my best friend's house, and that didn't happen. But I already bought the ticket, so I was like, well, I'm still gonna go. I went to surprise my grandma, and I was knocking on her door. I've never called to my grandmother before coming to her house. She's my fucking grandma. I don't need to do that. I'm calling her house. I'm knocking on the door. There's no answer. She doesn't do anything. Why are you not answering? Even if I woke you up, why are you not answering? Eventually, my little bitch ass father comes to the back door, and he's like, she's not here, she's in the nursing home. I said, excuse me, what do you mean my grandmother's in the fucking nursing home? And not only is she in the nursing home, she's in a horrible ass nursing home, because all nursing homes suck. Rhode Island has some trash nursing homes, and she was literally in one of the worst ones. So he was like, yeah, she's in the nursing home. I was like, yo, you're so fucking pathetic. And I turned around and I walked away. I find the nursing home that she's at. I go see my grandmother. She knows who I am. Looking back, I would say my grandmother definitely had signs of dementia. But I also think it was depression because her husband died. But whatever, I'm not a fucking doctor. But when I saw her, I do the same thing to my grandmother. I've always done since I was a little kid. I love her feet. Her feet are so elegant. Oh my god. And I touched her feet and it was fine. I looked at her heels because I ended up having to change her because she was just sitting there in her urine and her poop because nobody's changed her. And that means I looked at her bottom too. This is Thanksgiving. This is on Thanksgiving. So, okay, Thanksgiving, they release her from the nursing home the week of Christmas. I'm seeing her the following month. So, you are in the nursing home for a month. And then you leave and you're at home where you have home health aides coming supposedly. And the reason why they ended up putting her on hospice was because she was supposed to be in a rehab facility and she wasn't doing anything for rehab. So they was just like, well, since there's nothing else we can do, let's put her on hospice because of her age and her health and yada, yada, yada. So that's why my grandmother was on hospice. The whole time I'm driving to Rhode Island, mind you, once I get to, I want to say once I got to Connecticut, it was snowing. So I'm trying to race through to be able to see my grandmother beautiful face before she actually dies, because that's the picture I have in my head. That's the image my dad's finally, once he finally told us, that's what he sold to us. I'm talking to my cousin. I'm also talking to my sister. I'm also talking to my aunt, and they're asking me all these questions, and I'm like, I don't know, guys. I don't know. I'm not there yet. I don't know. And like, there we're all sharing our combined annoyance about how everything went on because of how my dad is handling it. The fact that my dad didn't let any of us know what was going on with our grandmother is trash. I don't give a fuck. He also didn't let us know because of how irresponsible he is and how much he is oblivious to care. This is the man that raised me. There was never a concern about whether or not I had personal hygiene necessities, let alone whether or not I had clothes. So I'm supposed to think that this man is going to be magically changed, even though he hasn't done anything to change and actually take care of the person who's handed him everything his whole entire life. When I tell you everything, I mean everything. My grandmother was amazing. Like, he did not have to want for anything. And it really makes no sense how somebody who was raised that way turns out to be such a horrible parent. Like, it's so backwards. So I get there. I finally get there, and I'm like, I'm so anxious to see her. Like, I'm not mentally prepared. Bitch, do you know when I saw her, I was like, this doesn't look like a lady that's on her deathbed. Not at all. Her fucking heart rate is sky high. She's not even fucking watching TV. She's talking. She knows who I am. That initial time, the first thing I do is I touch her feet. She screams out in pain. And I'm not like, oh, like all rough with her. No, she's a little fucking frail little lady. Like, I've never seen my grandmother this small before. She has always been like a solid lady, like size 14, 16, 18. Um, so like, I gently touch her feet and she's screaming out in pain. I'm like, oh my god, grandma, I'm so sorry. She was like, yeah, they hurt. And I'm looking at her feet and they're like, you can tell that they're all dried out. But then I see her heels and they're black. Now, for some of you who aren't in the medical field and don't know anything about wounds, if a wound is black, that means you can't see the base of the wound, which makes it unstageable. My poor little grandmother had two unstageable wounds on her heels of both of her feet. I changed her, and her bottom was bleeding because it was open. She had multiple other pressure sores on her bottom. The worst part of it, the fucking worst part of everything, is I've been a CNA longer than I've been a nurse. And once you're a CNA, that's in your fucking blood. It's how you are as a nurse too, because you really are the bottom of the totem pole. That means you have the most hands-on care with that patient, right? So I was an excellent CNA, bitch. I'm gonna turn my patient every 2 hours like I'm supposed to. I go to like reposition my grandmother, and I'm lowering the head of my grandmother's bed, hospital bed, mind you. Her body, her upper body is still up, stiff as fuck, in that position as the head of her bed is down. I had to put the head of the bed back up. call one of my lovely charge nurse and be like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm supposed to be, I know she needs to be turned because her bottom's all raw, but like, I can't even turn her. Like, it's gonna cause her more pain at this point if I did start to turn her because she's already contracted. You can't fix contraction. You can, but it takes a long fucking time. I'm not gonna do this. She was in so much fucking pain. And I was like, when's the last time she had pain medication? My dad's all like, oh, she's not taking pain medication. She keeps refusing. I said, excuse me? She's in pain. Her heart rate was like 120. She's over there tacking away. Blood pressure high as fuck. Like respiration's high as fuck. She sounds horrible. And I'm like, what do you mean? She said no. Do you not see her right now? She's not in her right mind. She has no right to say no. She's not Mary Lucille Jared right now. Like, this is not conscious mind. So, no, you fucking give her pain medication. Don't tell her what it is. She's in pain. That's not okay. He was like, I really didn't know. Like, I was telling the nurse that, like, she wasn't taking anything. So, I'm still, this is all in 5 minutes. Me touching her, I don't change her at this point. I did try to reposition her, but I couldn't. And then I go into the kitchen. I go in the refrigerator. There's morphine and there's Ativan. The Ativan's not even fucking open, bro. So like you didn't even try with the Ativan. The morphine's open, but like you can tell like it would just was open. Again, there for 5 minutes. I make my grandmother I get some ice cream. I melt it like a little bit of ice cream, and I put morphine and Ativan because bitch, you're tacking away at 120s. What are we gonna do? We're gonna let you die stressed out, like your heart's just ba 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 ba. Oh my god, your heart's gonna fucking explode before you're actually really gonna pass peacefully. And that's my fucking job, to make sure my grandmother passed peacefully the way that she fucking deserved because of the fucking type of person she was. So I am like, Grandma, I made you a milkshake. Ooh, and it's strawberry. My grandmother loves strawberry. So she's drinking. She's like, ooh, that's good. And I'm like, yeah, girl, drink it all up. And it had a good amount of fucking drugs in it, and I do not care. Tell my dad like, yo, you need to contact this hospice nurse because I don't like if it's gonna get to a point that I'm not gonna feel comfortable giving her this oral medication because she doesn't have an IV. You don't have IV drugs because this isn't a real hospice center. So like we need to get a fentanyl patch. We need fentanyl patch on her. Like I don't even understand why it took me coming here if you knew that she wasn't swallowing or taking pain medication, but clearly her bottom's raw. She has unstageable on her heels. You touch the top of her feet and she's screaming out in pain. Obviously, let's try to do something with this pain, guys. It's not rocket science here. So the hospice nurse calls him back and she was like, okay, the doctor put in fentanyl patches. It's not going to be ready for until later. I give my grandmother another thing of a little cocktail milkshake, and at this point, her heart rate has at least came down by like high 90s. Blood pressure is a little bit lower. She's not breathing as fast. You can tell that she's fucking comfortable, and that's all that needed to happen. You could tell that she was no longer in so much pain. And then I'm just chilling with her. The TV's on, but like since she's all contracted, all she can do is look up. And then she eventually she sees me eventually again. Like she's already saw me. She knew who I was. So I'm sitting across from her, texting my best friend, and then she's like looking at me and she's like she calls me my cousin's name. And my heart just breaks a little because it's like, no, 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 Grandma, please see who I am. Please just see who I am, and just tell me that you love me. Don't tell me because you think I'm your first fucking granddaughter. No, no, no. Tell me because you know I'm your last granddaughter. Tell me you know who I am. And I'm like, no, Grandma, I'm not her, but I'll give you a pass because I know you're hurting right now. I can understand that. And then she looks at me. She like blinks her eyes and she says, "Oh, Christina, hi, baby." And that was the last time that like she was like very much conscious and aware of who I was. That was 3 days until my dad's birthday. And she died on January 27th, 2004, which was my dad's birthday. Because it's instant karma. There'll never be another fucking year that passes that you don't have to think about how you treated this lady. Instant fucking karma. So, at that point, I just make sure I'm on top of the pain medication. I have no words for my father at this point in time because I'm being civilized because that's what my grandmother would always want me to be because I fly off at the mouth. I don't like confrontation. Don't get me wrong, but if I'm already mad, bitch, oh, it's a fair game. I have no problem putting you in your place. Like none whatsoever. I also don't like to be confrontational because like I I am reckless. Like I go for jugulars every single time. Like I want to see blood. If I could make you cry, that would be even better. And I don't like to be like that. I like to be nice most of the time. But if you want to fucking push me, go ahead. So it was very much superficial, the conversations I was having with my father. One, obviously, this is his mother. I understand that he's going through it too. So I was really trying my hardest not to be a cunt like I wanted because you fucking did this. She didn't have to go out this way. This is not the way she should have went. It did not have to get this bad. She felt disgusted at times with how her son treated her towards the end of her life and how he took over her house that she worked hard for when he didn't do anything to get that house. And when I get there, my cousin wants a picture of her grandma. I send it to her. My sister's like asking me questions. I'm answering them because she's still alive at this point. It's not it's not as bad. But the more I am medicating her, actually giving her the medication that her body need to be able to transition, the more that I can see this is setting in. The following day, I put up pictures on the ceiling of everybody who had passed, who she would be able to see, and I made a point to make sure I put a picture up of her daughter that's still alive. And like I'm talking about her husband that passed, her parents, um her son Jarvis that passed when he was 17. I just like better to look up at something versus just a white fucking wall, westerns on in the background. She's not even fucking hearing this shit, guys. Like come on, be so for real. So let's just fast forward. You already know I did everything that had to do with her death. I made it a point that I like talked to my father and said like I'm not trying to like step on any toes, and this really feels weird for me because I understand that you're her son, but that's my mom and I'm her daughter as well, and I'm going to be here with you, and we're going to be handling this whole funeral arrangement together. And that's just what it is. And I'm sorry if you don't agree, but I really don't give a fuck if you don't agree. And so like my grandmother has always explained one, she wanted to die in her house. Check. Accomplished that. And two, she wanted to be buried and she paid for everything that had to do with the funeral. Meaning, she paid for the burial. She paid for the burial plot and her daughter's burial plot and the headstone and the like the actual funeral itself. She paid for all of that. She was very responsible. Now, what did that mean? What was left? We still had to handle the repast. We still needed to have flowers. We still needed to have food. We needed to have drinks and decorations in a sense. So I know my dad is a bum. I know he probably doesn't have it. Maybe he does have it. Who knows? But from what I've seen in his life and from personal experience, he probably doesn't have the money. And I had the money. And we went half on one flower arrangement and I bought her another flower arrangement and he did pay for the repass, all of that, but he also got a discounted price. He took care of the food. Now, when I was talking to my sister throughout this whole time, they have to come get to us. So since they're not coming up with like, hey, I want to do X, Y, and Z. Hey, I want to do A, B, and C. I took it upon myself just to fucking plan everything. Granted, should I have reached out more to them? Yes, but you know what? I didn't have the mental capacity to reach out more. My idea for the repass is that I took all these pictures that my grandmother had, like I made copies, and I wanted to make like a video montage of like my grandmother's life. And I thought it would be really cool to have all these pictures out on the tables at the repast so all of our family can see, because when I tell you my grandmother was a low-key hoarder, she kept fucking everything. And she has so many pictures, so much history that needed to be seen. I mean, like, my grandmother died when she was 84. She still had her high school diploma. I wanted people to see this. I don't know how long it's been since they saw these pictures. I thought that would be cool. I didn't have fucking time to do all that I wanted to do. And then, like, my sister keeps on like, oh, well, what should we do? What can I do? I was like, well, I thought I was expressing, like, hey, I made it a point to say, like, these are the things that need to get done. If you want to pick one of them, cool. If not, cool. But honestly, I need you guys to stop asking me what to do because I don't know what to do. I don't have a handbook on how to deal with these things. I'm just researching, I'm Googling, and I'm doing. That's it. So I really don't have the mental capacity right now to like mother anybody else. And I didn't even really mean mother to be disrespectful, but that's just what it felt like. I don't know. I'm not a mother right now. I'm a granddaughter who's grieving the loss of her mother. That's it. That's all I can do. Did that get respected? Hell fucking no. She questioned decisions. She asked where the money was going. She didn't get it. She just didn't get it. I wasn't just grieving, I was unraveling. By the time we got to the burial site, my head was like pounding. The repast pounding. I was pretty much done. So by the time everything was over and we went back to the house, the last thing I said before going to sleep was to my niece. I told her, hey, make sure you go over there before they pick everything. When I woke up, they were all gone. Not just the people, her things too. One piece hit me hard. A jewelry set, crusted in diamonds and pearls, still in the original box with the original fucking tags on them. I'd gone through everything before, and I didn't touch anything because I wanted to be fair. But it was gone, and I realized my sister had taken it. I was salty, yeah, but I also reminded myself that's her grandma too. So I didn't start with anger. I just asked her to honor the memory, at least keep the box. I told her grandma kept it in the box for a reason, and she refused. I let it go until it was time to leave. That's when I finally spoke up. I told her how I felt about the way things were divided, how unequal it felt. I asked if she would at least make sure her nieces and nephews could inherit something if anything ever happened to her. She brushed it off like it was no big deal, said it wasn't real jewelry anyway, told me I'm the jeweler of the family. I tried to explain that it wasn't about the value, it was the meaning. About the years of watching grandma slowly let go of vanity and how the box was one of the few things she preserved. And I got met with resistance again. Later, I texted her. I poured out everything I needed her to really see me. And instead, I got called selfish. She said I was twisting things, that there was miscommunication, but she wasn't trying to hear me. And that was the last time we spoke. I used to think that keeping the peace was more important than speaking my truth, that silence was safer. But this experience taught me sometimes silence is the real betrayal to yourself. Just because someone is family doesn't mean they'll understand your experience. And just because they love you doesn't mean they can validate your reality. I spoke up this time and I lost something, but I kept me. And that's a piece I won't sacrifice ever again. If you have ever felt unseen, unheard by someone close to you, I hope this episode reminded you your feelings are valid. Oh, God, don't do it. And your truth matters, even when it makes people uncomfortable. I want to end this episode with another journal prompt. When speaking up, cost connection. Reflect on a time you spoke your truth and it changed a relationship. Maybe it even ended it. What pushed you to finally say something? How were your needs being dismissed or misunderstood before you spoke up? Looking back, would you still speak your truth, even knowing what it would cost? Write without editing yourself, then read it back and ask, was that my most honest voice? I can say that I was being honest. I was speaking my truth, and I wouldn't have taken it back. It's still